Welcome to today's episode of the Insight Games with your hosts, Lynne, Elaine, and Greg. Welcome our special guest, Amanda Le Pape. Now let's play some Insight Games. Game 3. I like this one. This one's called Unicorns and Fairies. So for 2 to 3 minutes, Amanda, you can imagine something impossible that you'd love to have happen, like a big dream or a fantasy, and share that with us. And then for 15 minutes, the other players, Lynne, Elaine, and I will have a conversation about what we're curious about or want to know or want clarification on. We'll agree to one question to ask player one, and then we'll ask it. Player one will answer the question, and then the players do another round of discussing and ask another question. This repeats for 15 minutes. And then for 2 or 3 minutes at the end, player one can share any insights or shifts that they've had. So I'm just going to get my timer ready on my phone. 3 minutes. So Amanda, in 3 minutes or less, what's something impossible or big that you would love to have happen?
Oh, it's interesting. What immediately came to mind is I have a real desire at the moment for freedom of movement, freedom around how I spend my time, freedom to do whatever I want to do. And I've gone into a bit of form around that. And it seems really, well, it certainly is probably quite outrageous, but it looks like working 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day. And in that 2 hours, to be able to earn enough so that the rest of the day is mine to about look after myself, exercise, cook, write, create, go in my garden, do whatever I want. That is my impossible dream that I'm holding right now.
Love it.
Love it.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. Reset my timer for 15 minutes. And then we'll have a discussion. You just get to listen while we debate what question we're going to ask you. Then we'll come to you with a question and go from there. So what are you guys curious about?
The first thing I'm curious about is when that popped up for Amanda, because it came really quickly. So it's been there. I wonder when it first popped up for her.
Yeah, I'm curious what she thinks about the words. I'll just feed back the words. How can you actually say in the same sentence, this is my impossible dream that I am solving right now? Which is very positive, I believe, having said it.
The paradox of possibility and impossibility. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious about, because it sounds like she has a very clear vision of what her day would look like, 2 hours of work and then exercising and cooking and writing and this whole idea of freedom. I wonder, like, what's holding her back or what's not allowing that to unfold the way that she would like it to. And it's kind of the freedom at like two different levels. One is like that all those activities kind of as a definition of what freedom looks like, but then there's the freedom kind of more upstream of the freedom to do that if that's what you choose to do.
Yeah. And I was also kind of interested to know, as she said, she's gone into form around that. And then, like, said a whole series of things that occupy a full day in the form. So I'm kind of wondering, does those 2 hours, does that exclude the form, or is that a different sort of form, or what sort of form is that?
I'd be curious to find out how far she thinks she is from that right now. That being those 2 hours and everything else being freedom and the things that she wants to do.
Yeah, that might answer the possible / impossible element too. Why don't we ask her that, Lynn?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a question for you, Amanda. How far do you think you are from that right now?
Writing that down. What's coming up is experientially, it feels quite far. And there's something behind that seems to be connected to my schedule, my diary. I have kind of meetings sort of all over the place. And because there's something here that I notice I'm yearning for, which is why I feel like I'm further away from it than I want to be. And it's because I have like clients that want to meet at, 3 p.m. And I think part of the form piece is that for me, it means doing 2 hours in the morning, getting it over and done with, and then moving into the rest of the day. So there's something in here about me being fully 100% in charge of my time and what I offer out others. And this is coming up for me recently, and not being so flexible as I have been traditionally. And there's something in here around my agreements, what I'm agreeing to. Because it occurs to me now I'm saying this, it's like, if I say I'm only available for these hours, gosh, that's quite confronting, actually, because it could mean turning work away. But there's probably something else behind that, which means that, well, I'm only available at that time. Maybe that's actually quite attractive for some. I don't know. So there's something in there. That's why I feel it's not as close as I want, because the way that I've set it up is the kind of antithesis of that, really. That's the question.
I immediately thought of Jamie's story of Hobson's choice, the horse renter guy, take it or leave it.
Yeah. And when he was talking about, that's really interesting, because I have thought about that story quite a lot since he shared it with us. And also, I know that Emma, his partner, I'd love to talk to her, actually, goes to me, how she set her life up, because she seems to have that. That's. Sorry, did you hear that beep? I beg your pardon, something needs to beep. It feels like there's kind of like, the insight here already for me is around what I'm making myself available for versus what I actually want to create. And there's something around choice, choosing. What am I choosing? Am I conscious? Am I unconscious? Yeah. And it's around just I suppose, and on it in its absolute simplest form, it's about choosing something.
Great. The three of us will chat again, and we'll come up with another question for you.
Yeah, I just sort of picked up, Amanda didn't say it exactly herself, but as she was speaking about, the sort of like she wants to have just those 2 hours in the morning, and then seems to have a diary, seems to have people all over the place. And kind of mentioned that, she needs to be less flexible. And as just before she said that, I was kind of thinking, Stephen Covey, is it Stephen Covey? I can't remember if it's an NLP presupposition. The people with the most greater flexibility will have the most success. And then she kind of later said, with all this stuff, if I'd only do those 2 hours, does that mean like I'm going to turn work away then? So this word flexibility is kind of banging around in my head, and I myself sort of can't get my head around it, but there is something that it sounded like wisdom was speaking about the flexibility, saying, could that mean I'm actually turning work away? Like, is that kind of a little bell ringing? And maybe that was the beep going off in the background. I don't know what that was. There's something to do with that. It's, yeah. So just thoughts there.
Yeah. I mean, I brought up the Hobson choice story, but it made me think like, the real, like the rationale behind his take it or leave it was less to do with Hobson's an idiot or an a-hole or difficult, and more to do with giving the horses enough time to rest and recover. And like there's an underlying reason to be less flexible. And it made me think for Amanda, is the structure of 2 hours in the morning as the framework, is that almost unintentionally designed to make this not work? Because that's maybe there's more flexibility. Does it really matter if it's 2 hours in the morning, or could it be 2 hours whenever it makes the most sense on any given day? I don't know, like the phrase that came to mind was a game changer or deal breaker. Like, is that the I'll have the freedom I want in my life, which is working 2 hours a week, but only if it's these 2 hours. Otherwise, forget it. I can't do it. Just how important is that?
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, Greg, because what came to mind when I noticed a couple of things. When Amanda mentioned her calendar, she screwed her face up. So I thought that was kind of funny. She's like, oh, that's a bit eek. But what came to mind around the 2 hours in the morning was our conversation with Lorraine around her bike trip, her year-long bike trip. And that was what was in our mind. But I can't have that year-long bike trip because of all of these things. And then the simple notion that, we could have that shorter family bike trip. What about that? And how amazing it was. So there was something, I don't know what's in there, but that popped up for me. And yeah, the same thing is that making it the 2 hours in the morning, is that actually a barrier to her having those 2 hours and her own flexibility around that? No idea what the question is out of that.
Yeah, also because of the nature of coaching. By nature, it is, we don't just sit on a production line and churn stuff out, which indeed you can turn it on and turn it off whenever you want. But I'm just kind of thinking, the moment that there's another human being, it sounds like mathematical, that sort of exactly that, 9 to 11 every morning, it's going to slip up somewhere. That's kind of my thinking. For the nature of human nature, quite honestly,
Yeah, I had the different thought to that, which was the people that want Amanda will come anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The word that
That
was
was my thought.
been coming up with
Yeah.
me in the last minute has just been experimentation. Like just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can you do a 2 week or a 4 week, or I don't know, whatever length of time makes sense as an experiment. You know, employ the Hobson's choice and see if you still have customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, or yeah,
Um,
or like continue working as you're working, but make sure in any case, as you're working and doing all sorts of things and doing your cooking and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
that sort of, I'm kind of thinking, for starters, because I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, I could really handle something like that. Be brilliant. You've got all your other clients coming in, but you've always got, if it is that slot, the 9 to 11 slot in, and then you can just
Pare down to it. Yeah.
move everything off. It's like I kind of get the feeling that maybe Amanda wants it like from today to tomorrow. Sort of thing, and like is trying to fix onto that, and maybe that's where she's finding it difficult to sort of imagine or believe or not believe that it is possible, or not believe that it is impossible, if you like.
Can we whittle that down to a single question, or should we just ask her something generic, like out of all this rambling, has anything
yeah.
made
Yeah.
sense?
Go with that.
Yeah.
Go with that.
Yeah.
All right, Amanda,
Great.
from all that rambling, is anything jumping out or making sense?
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. So what this I think you've really stimulated my thoughts and around the 2 hour piece. And what's coming up for me is that there's something in here about having it be done. I don't want to be disrespectful, but kind of getting it out the way.
Mm.
I've done my 2 hours. I've put my energy in my morning energy into that. And now I get to go and play in the rest of the day. And I haven't got to think to myself, got to speak to, Dave at 3 o'clock. So I can only enjoy this time. I can't have that real wandering, that real like, oh my God, I think I'm just going to go for a hike. Because whenever there's a deadline, and there is something in here about deadlines and responsibility. Whenever there's a deadline in the afternoon, I kind of, it takes away the enjoyment of whatever it is I'm going to be doing. I think what it is that it's a sort of a lock the door and move on into the rest of my life for the rest of the day. Does that make sense?
I love that. That sounds like, however, there's a big game in play here. Like I can't just finish at 11 o'clock and go for a hike. Bang, slap into a value, freedom, right in there. On the other side, a very big, important thing, it sounds like, for Amanda, is responsibility. So I'm wondering how she's going to work that out and play those two off together.
I kind of had a vision of this is like an implementation strategy, but it's one day a week, for every Friday going forward, it's 2 hours in the morning, that's it. And then do that for a while, and that's working smoothly. Now it's Thursday and Friday, or I don't know, just you slowly whittle away, and next thing you know, it's 5 days a week. I don't know. I love the idea of experiments, probably not the word, but you use the word, Amanda, play or playing, playful, like being playful about it, like, and play with it a little bit, see what works, what doesn't work, where are you being guided to.
Yeah, little bit of.
I was also.
Sorry,
Oh,
Lynne.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead, Lynne. Go.
No, I was wondering in all of that, because this play thing is has come through quite a bit, and I was wondering, I know we're not doing I wonder, but I was wondering, in those 2 hours, how much playfulness and fun and lightness is Amanda having within her work?
Mm.
If those 2 hours were also had elements of playful and fun, would that feel different? I guess I would be kind of curious about that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and on the back end of that, Lynn, Edom for freedom and responsibility. Like, does freedom only belong to when she's cooking or hiking or doing whatever she's doing? Does that not belong also in the work, perhaps? And, you know, there's responsibility too. You know, if you're off hiking up Everest, there's a lot of responsibility going on, because if you don't get down again, you won't get back to work, you know. I don't know if she's got family or what. You know, so like I sort of feel like things again seem to be put into boxes. You know, when
a bit
to me,
compartmentalised,
I'd like it. I'd love to see Amanda with like all of that in everything that she does, with freedom at the top of everything.
Yeah.
All right, we'll bring this one in for landing. Any insight or shifts or things to take away, Amanda, for you?
Yeah. So what I've got from listening to you guys then was, again, it sort of points me to choice. Like, I have client relationships where it's playful, it's fun. I really look forward to connecting with them, and you know, it doesn't feel like work. And there are other clients, they tend to be the ones that are kind of funneled to me through another company, where it feels more of a chore. They're less engaged, they're less interested in their development. And that's the piece for me. It's about that really great client match and working with people that are want to have just as much fun as I do, is where it points me.
Nice. Yeah, the people that are mandated to get coaching, they're tough nuts to crack.
Yeah.
Can be. Yeah.
Mandated.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
I love that as a tagline, Amanda. Do you want to have as much fun as I do? Yeah.
Writing that down.
Yeah, I did too. Awesome.
It's interesting, the contrast between the word work and fun, and the idea that the work can be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
traditional
maybe should
kind
be
of
fun is a better way to think.
yeah.
Right.
How was that on the fun scale, Amanda?
Yeah, this is fun. I'm loving it.
It was fun for us.
Thank you. So good.
So this game's called I Wonder. So for 3 to 5 minutes, player one shares something they want more clarity on, a problem they want to solve, a goal they want to accomplish. For 10 minutes, all other players take turns making I wonder statements relating to what player one has shared. Player one just listens and takes in what people are saying. And then at the end, for 5 minutes, player one shares what they heard or was interesting or had made a difference for them, and reports back on whether anything has changed or shifted for them. So the last one was more of a big, crazy fantasy dream, unicorns and fairies. This one could be more, it can be whatever you want, but get my timer set here. So 3 to 5 minutes, Amanda. What is something you want more clarity on, a problem you want to solve, or a goal you'd like to accomplish?
Thank you. So this is something I've been turning over for myself, and I want to do. It's great to have you guys here to give me some support on this, because something that I've come to realize, whether it be through I don't know how it's come to this. I'm not even going to start there. But I am very, very adaptable coach. I can pretty much coach anyone on anything and have done. And I struggle with how to explain who I work best with. And I think our last conversation will help with this, because you've already got lots of starters for 10 on what I love. And I think it's also about, you know, who they are and what they can possibly get from working with me. That's sort of the benefits of working with me. So that's the piece that I'm turning over. You help.
Right.
I wonder if Amanda realizes she just said all of that in the first game, like all the stuff that is actually wonderful, why it's so wonderful to work with Amanda.
I wonder if she actually has a person in mind, if there's someone that is already that person.
I wonder if perhaps just looking back at all of the clients that she has had and the ones that resonated most with her as starters, and maybe develop a list of characteristics that those people seem to have had.
Yeah, I was curious about the dilemma was how to explain it. Which kind of presupposed that she already knew it. It was just a matter of explaining. So I wonder if that's true, if she already knows it and it truly is just the articulation of it. Also wonder what it will mean once that's clearly defined. In terms of like what direction to go in, and if there's anything, you know, scary or uncertain about that.
Yeah, and on the back of that, I wonder if there's something, so if there's maybe something scary about the actual how, the how to, if that's the question. I wonder if also what are the benefits of working with me bit may contain sort of some underlying insecurity or underconfidence or self-doubt or anything of that nature.
I guess what I'm wondering is, Amanda said that, you know, she can coach anyone, and she has, yet she has difficulty with this explanation. I'm wondering why the explanation is necessary. Where is it for? Who is it for? Like, for what purpose?
Yeah, and I wonder what her criteria is for whatever this niche is. It's, you know, is it the people that I feel the most aligned with? Is it the people I have the most fun with? Is it the people I can impact the most? Like, I'm just curious about what is that series of criteria that makes it. Well, how will she know when that's the right avatar? To use it just a word, but the right person.
Yeah, I wonder if one could actually have one avatar, but with more than one. I'm kind of thinking, it sounds like, okay, so I'm thinking, I'd have to ask Amanda, obviously, is she, you know, the how to explain to people, where does that fit in? Like, is she talking about an offer that she's going to make, or a website that she wants to write up with all the stuff on it, or what again, same as you, Lynne, for what purpose So I'm wondering for what purpose she's asking herself those particular
yeah.
questions. Yeah, I guess you said it, Lynn. Sorry, I reformulated the same thing.
I wonder how this fits in with the first game we played. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I can kind of see this line up
Yeah.
the right people who want to be
The
coached
2
9
hours,
to 11.
yeah.
Like everything kind of coming into alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. And go ahead, Lynn.
No, you're good.
I wonder if it actually is extraordinarily far more simple than Amanda thinks.
Mm. Yeah. I wonder how many of the clients she already has would fit into this category.
Yeah.
There may be more there than she realizes. I don't know. Maybe not.
And what they have in common.
Mm. The other thing that I wonder about is, you know, that it's conceivable to me that the starting point, so the kind of defining that potential client and the benefits that any one of those clients may get may not align, like that they may align in the beginning, but the benefits that each of them gets may be different, or vice versa. So it's you know, just wonder what that looks like.
I wonder what the difference is between adaptable and flexible.
Hmm.
And I wonder what anyone actually looks like. And if anyone were maybe narrowed down, that actually might help.
I wonder how Amanda will know when she's explained it adequately.
I wonder if she was chatting to her best friend, what would she say?
Yeah. And I wonder if she had that thing, how would she know when she got it?
Something, Amanda's first, I'm just looking at what I wrote down, which was so very little, but she said, I struggle how to explain who I work best with out of all these people. So I wonder what working best with feels like to Amanda. We good on time, Greg?
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
My wonder well is run dry.
Yeah, I think my wonder well's run dry. How's your wonder well, Elaine?
Just one final, just exactly what does she mean by which we mentioned before. So I wonder what exactly it means when she says but struggle with how to explain best with. Like she explained so beautifully everything up to now.
Yeah.
I'm sort of not really, I'm very confused.
Yeah.
What's showing up for you, Amanda?
Wow. So much, lots of really fantastic questions. Thank you. So insights that I'm sitting with, this whole adaptable, flexible piece, same thing, just the same thing with a different word on it. And here's what I wrote down around that. I think there's something in me that has always been like this adaptable, flexible coach, because I don't want to exclude people. And the kicker is, because that would mean saying no to money. So there's a deeper piece underneath here, which is uncomfortable to acknowledge, to be honest. What's also coming up is around who I really love working with, the kinds of people. I'm thinking about a particular few clients that I've really connected with. And there's definitely something in here about fun, playfulness. There's also a piece in here about them being, they're all really intelligent, much more intelligent than me. And there's also something that connects them in the fact that they're all heart-led, as well as being bright buttons, they're all really heart-led. So we connect on a heart level. Somebody, I think it was you, Elaine, said, I think I wanted to know benefits, but I think what I'm getting, it feels a little new to me, but what I'm getting is that benefits really are super unique to each and every person. So when somebody says, I hear that you have to express the benefits of working with me, it feels so unique and tailored. It feels like a conversation, just joining the dots up, an individual conversation, rather than me telling you what you're going to get. And I think I haven't seen that before. There was a question that you asked around, why am I even asking this question? And it's to do with very much to, I think, now I'm joining all the dots up to the previous game, where it's about me being in charge of my time and me working with the people that I find fun to work with and not a chore. And in order to connect with them, I'm looking at different ways, different methods of doing that. Because right here, I sit in this office on my own, and I don't meet that many new people every day. And there are tools and there are companies that can support that connection, finding, good matches, people. So that's something that I'm considering doing. Because I think and this is going off piece a bit, but I think what I've seen is that there's a bit of a myth in the coaching world that if a client is super happy with you, they'll go and tell all their friends. And that's bullshit. In England, it is anyway, because people are very naturally shy over here. They don't want people to know. I've got some very significant clients who would never dream of telling anyone that they were coached. So I don't think that's true. So I'm looking for ways to create that. It doesn't mean I'm posting constantly on social media, because I don't think that's an intimacy creator. I think it's a separator. I may be wrong. So my perfect client is someone who wants to play, someone who wants to have fun, who is open to being impacted by the work. It's massively important. Who is engaged. That's something else I said. Who's intelligent, probably quite a high performer, and they're value-led, they're heart-led. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Nice.
As you said last week, Amanda, bingo. Last time we talked bingo.
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 Yeah. Mm. Mm. Very useful. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for playing along with us. Thanks for playing along. We'll see you next time on the Insight Games.